Every day, I talk to entrepreneurs just like you who are completely overwhelmed trying to navigate the complex world of U.S. business formation. You're probably wondering, what even is an LLC? Why would I need one as a non-resident? And why does everyone keep telling me different states are the best? Trust me, I've been exactly where you are. In fact, before I figured all this out, I was losing sleep over these exact same questions. But today, everything has changed. I'm going to walk you through the exact steps to form a US LLC as a non-resident, help you choose the perfect state for your situation, and show you how you can potentially pay 0 US taxes. Yes, you heard that right, 0. Imagine you're sitting at your desk in Nigeria, or Thailand, or Indonesia, or maybe even Madagascar. You've got an amazing product or service, but you're constantly hitting walls. Your potential US clients hesitate when they hear they need to send money to a foreign bank account. Your payment processor declines half your transactions because you're based overseas. And let's be honest, some clients simply don't trust companies from certain countries, no matter how great your business is. I remember talking to Maria, one of my clients from Latin America. Before setting up her US LLC, she lost a $20,000 contract because the US company wasn't comfortable sending money to her country. It's not fair, she told me, but it's the reality we face. This is exactly why so many international entrepreneurs are turning to US LLCs. And with the right structure, you can solve all these problems without creating a tax nightmare. So what exactly is an LLC and why should you care? An LLC, or limited liability company, combines the best features of corporations and partnerships. It gives you personal liability protection, meaning your personal assets are separate from your business, while being much simpler to maintain than a corporation. With an LLC, you don't need to deal with corporate minutes, issuing shares, or most of the paperwork headaches that come with corporations. There's simply less stuff you have to do to keep it legal. But here's the real magic for you as a non-resident: pass-through taxation. This means that if you live outside the US and don't physically do business in the US, you typically don't have to pay US income taxes. Your LLC is essentially transparent for tax purposes. You get all the benefits of a US business presence without the tax burden. Now let's talk about the question that's probably keeping you up at night. Which state should you choose? With 50 states to pick from, this can feel overwhelming. But for most non-residents doing online business, the answer usually comes down to just a few options. Let me take you back to 2020, when I was helping a client set up his digital marketing agency. He had been told by one expert to use Nevada, another said Delaware, and a third recommended Wyoming. He was completely confused. So we sat down and looked at what he actually needed: privacy. He didn't want his name publicly linked to the business, low ongoing costs, and simplicity. Based on these needs, Wyoming was the clear winner. For most non-residents doing online business with no physical presence in the US, Wyoming is my top recommendation. It's cheap to set up, just $100, quick to process, usually just 2-3 days, completely private, your name isn't publicly visible, and costs only $62 per year to maintain. Delaware is also excellent, especially if you're planning to raise venture capital or build a tech startup. It's the state where most major US corporations are registered. However, it does cost $300 annually to maintain, which is higher than Wyoming. I also have many clients who choose Florida or Texas, particularly if they have family there or visit frequently. This can make opening bank accounts in person much easier. But remember, unlike Wyoming and Delaware, these states make your ownership information public. I always tell my clients to avoid states like California, New York, and Massachusetts. Why? California charges an extra $800 annual fee just to exist. That's money better spent growing your business. New York requires a publication in a newspaper when you form an LLC, which is both expensive and time-consuming. So I will say for Ahmed, an e-commerce store owner from Egypt, Wyoming was perfect. For Sophia, building a tech startup seeking venture capital, Delaware made more sense. The best state truly depends on your specific situation, but Wyoming wins for most online businesses. Now that you've chosen your state, let's walk through exactly how to register your LLC as a non-resident. It breaks down into 4 main steps. First, you need a registered agent. This is someone with a physical address in your chosen state who can receive legal documents on your behalf. Since you don't live in the US, you'll need to hire a service for this. There are thousands of companies offering this service, with prices ranging from as low as $25 per year in Wyoming to several $100s for premium services. If you choose BZ, you get a free registered agent services for the first year, if you form your business. Second, you'll need to choose a unique business name and file your articles of organization with the state. This is the official document that creates your LLC. You'll pay a filing fee, $100 in Wyoming, $90 in Delaware, $125 in Florida, and the state will process your application. Processing times vary by state. When one subscriber filed an LLC in Wyoming last month, it was approved in just 2 days. But when I filed one in Delaware for a client, it took almost 3 weeks. So if time is of the essence, keep this in mind. Third, and this is critically important, you need to apply for an EIN, Employer Identification Number. This is like a social security number for your business, and without it, you can't open bank accounts or set up payment processes. For non-residents without a US social security number, getting an EIN can be challenging. The traditional method involves faxing a form to the IRS and waiting 3 to 4 weeks for processing. But there's a faster way. If you call the IRS directly, finally, you'll need to open a US bank account. As a non-resident, traditional banks can be difficult, but online banks like Mercury have made this process much easier. They specifically work with non-resident business owners and typically approve accounts within a few days. With your bank account set up, you can then apply for payment processors like Stripe, which will make accepting payments from US customers seamless. Now, let me share how I personally structure my international business to minimize taxes legally, and how many of my clients do the same. Let's assume I have my main company in the UAE, which acts as my holding company. For certain business lines, like my online courses, I set up a US LLC to handle payments from customers. This US LLC is owned by my UAE company, and all profits generated by the LLC are sent to my UAE company as distributions. From there, I pay myself a salary and dividends. This structure works because a US LLC with non-US ownership that operates entirely outside the US. No employees, office, or significant US activities is generally not subject to US income tax. It's considered a disregarded entity for US tax purposes. To maintain this tax advantage status, you must avoid having a physical place of business in the US, employees, or dependent agents in the US, and you shouldn't generate what's called effectively connected income from US sources. I remember explaining this structure to Jacob, who runs a consulting business from Singapore. He was shocked that he could legally access the US market without creating a tax nightmare. It feels too good to be true, he told me. But it's completely legitimate when structured correctly. Look, I know this is a lot of information. And while you could do all this yourself, it's often more cost-effective to work with experts who handle these formations every day. That's why I personally recommend Busy for non-residents. As someone who isn't in the US, you need to avoid unnecessary stress like figuring out your US address or navigating the complex state websites. Busy handles everything from state filing to getting your EIN, providing a US address, and ongoing compliance support. They can even help with setting up your business bank account with no paperwork or hassle. The links are in the description if you want to check them out. So there you have it. The complete guide to registering a US LLC as a non-resident and choosing the perfect state for your situation. We've covered why Wyoming is generally the best state for most non-residents, the step-by-step process to get set up, and how to maintain your compliance while potentially paying zero US taxes. Whether you're running an e-commerce store, offering digital services, or building the next big tech startup, a US LLC can give you legitimacy, banking access, and tax advantages you need to succeed globally. If you found this information helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with other international entrepreneurs who could benefit from this knowledge. This is just the first step in your US business journey. I'm here to help you every step of the way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.